guys, Lemmy here. Welcome back to another art video. It has been a hot minute since I've made a video, and I figured, hey, I want to make something that I'm really passionate about and I hope helps you guys in your own art adventures. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how I got where I am now and where I started from and kind of how I ended up where I am. There are some tips and tricks in this video that I think you guys will find very helpful, especially if you're just starting out in art. I'm just going to get right into it, and I'm just going to, as we watch through the video, this is just a recording of it going really super fast, so if you watch, you'll see how I made this picture, but I'm just going to talk you guys through it a little bit. First thing I want to mention is that there's a common misconception that if you get your oils from your hand, like if you have sweaty palms or whatever, if you get that on your artwork, you will destroy the pages of your artwork. It's often recommended that you put a piece of paper underneath your hand so that you can keep the oils from your artwork, and it's also recommended so that you don't smudge what you're drawing. However, what your art teachers aren't telling you is that the oils from your hand are very adhesive. So if you were to take your sweaty palms and rub them all over a canvas, you don't have to buy gesso or any sort of grounds. Yes, in fact, the oils from your hand will help the paint adhere to the canvas much better, and it's free. Another tip that we have is usually an art teacher will tell you to use a mid-tone color or something like a warm brown that's not too dark, not too light. It's like a mid-tone, and use that for your underpainting of your painting. However, I have found that a bright, obnoxious red is definitely the best way to go with my undertone. The more red, the more blood-like, the better. So don't use a desaturated red. Don't use a deep red. Use a blood red, like the blood of your enemy's red. Next up, I just start smearing colors on there. You know, like things that sort of remotely look fleshy. So kind of like peachy, a little bit pale gray, blue, pink, green. You know, basically any pale color, because the chick that I'm painting is a pale lady. So then I'll just start like throwing that on there. And the more you just play around and you totally guess what you're doing, the better. But try to switch up what you're doing, because if you just paint it all one color, it's gonna look kind of boring. So just throw in some, pink in the cheeks maybe, to make her look more alive and less like a dead corpse. Halfway through I thought, hey, you know what? This chick should be a vampire. So I grabbed a whole bunch of black, like straight up black, and I put it on there. And then I decided, like, hey, I'm just gonna roll with this. So then I started adding black everywhere, because black is better than mixed colors. Don't ever mix your color, just use them straight from the tube. So on my quest to make the perfect vampire girl, I just remembered out of nowhere that I had to add fangs, because vampires are very sexual creatures, and they have fangs, and that's how they make more vampires. Sometimes they sparkle, and sometimes they don't, but for this picture specifically, I decided not to draw a sparkly vampire because, that's really overdone with all the Twilight things. And I was like, hey, I'm just gonna give two big fangs in the front and roll with it and see what happens. Halfway through, you might decide, hey, I want to change what I want to do. And you know what? You should just do it. Just do it all the time. Even when you're doing plein air stuff and you're out in the forest and you're doing a realistic picture of your surroundings and like it's daytime, even if it just becomes sunset because you've been taking way too long on your picture, just change everything. It doesn't matter how far the sun is down or what the colors in the sky are, because colors aren't relative to one another. So if you just want to like make her hair red like I'm doing now, just get on that and do it, because it doesn't matter. In this picture we're using acrylics, and I thought I would give you a pro tip on how to use acrylics. So you might think, hey, let me use sink water or bottled water with my acrylics, because the cleaner the water, the better off the painting's gonna be. It's probably gonna last longer because there's none of that weird well water shit that has things growing in it from the local lake, right? Wrong. The best thing to use with acrylics is your own saliva. That's right, folks, this entire picture was created with my own saliva. And no, okay, you don't want to be like Van Gogh and actually eat your paint, because that's very bad for you. I would never mislead you to do something like that, because it's very dangerous to your health. I don't recommend it. And yeah, don't eat your paint, guys. So what you're gonna want to do is you're just gonna want to have like a really hot day, and you're gonna like drink tons of water, and you're just gonna want to spit. You're just gonna want to spit a lot, okay? And you're gonna catch it in a cup, and you're going to put a lid on it, and you're going to preserve that spit. So all day, I don't know, you chewing gum or something, you got like excess saliva, just spit it in a cup and then put the top on. You don't want your saliva to evaporate, you want to preserve it, guys. So spit in that cup until you have a full cup of saliva, then you know you're ready to paint. I find that the higher the saliva ratio is to paint, the more lustrous your paint mixture becomes. Like I said about being indecisive, totally fine. You could just switch up whatever you're doing whenever you want to switch it. So instead of doing a vampire, I did opting, I just did something else. I ended up thinking, hey, I'm just gonna draw an angel now. So then I went with this light blue background, and I was like, hey, this works. And then I started throwing in some colors in there, so to kind of like brighten the hair up, make it more like a redhead sort of deal. Also, I just decided, hey, why not? And then I blacked out large portions of her face, just like totally put a paint over it, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna paint this over again, because why not? You know, it's like Bob Ross says, everything's a happy little accident. You don't have to do anything, just make tons of accidents and you'll end up with something awesome. Thanks, Bob Ross. So you'll see in this picture that I mix up my colors a lot, and by the meaning of that, I mean like I change the colors that I'm using. So about like towards the end, I decided I want a lighter picture like I mentioned previously. So I went out and I bought a whole new set of paints. They're pastel acrylics. I know that I could have just added white paint to like all my other acrylics, but like, I mean, why would I do that if I could just buy a whole new set, right? Oh, another tip that I have is that sometimes when you're done with your oil painting or your acrylic painting or some sort of painting, you want to varnish that sucker. Use lemons. They're great for varnish. They make it very sparkly and beautiful. Combined with the spit paint, you are going to be looking at the most lustrous, pearlescent, beautiful painting you've ever seen in your lifetime. So at this point in the video, you might be just sitting there asking yourself, like, damn, Lemmy, how did you get so good at painting and find out all these tips on your own? Or did you? Did you have a teacher, some like Grandmaster painting up in the mountains who lives like underneath a rock, teach you all these things? The answer to all your questions is that for the past month, I've been on sabbatical and I've been in Asia, learning how to paint from the Grandmasters. They taught me all these tips and more. So if you want to know all these things that can save you money and time and make you a better artist much more quickly, you can support me on my Patreon. Before I leave, I'm going to leave you with one last tip, and this is the one last free tip, of course. If you want to support me on Patreon, that would be great, you know, because we all need money. Anyway, so my last tip is do not go out and buy gold metallic paint. It's a waste. Why would you do it? I don't know. I mean, you might as well just throw your money out the window. Instead, what you should do is take your gold jewelry, melt it down, and adhere it to the canvas. And I know you might be thinking, like, why would you do that? That makes no sense. No, but trust me. Combine that with the oil from your hands that make the gesso that we spoke of earlier. The gold really adheres to the canvas very well, and also, it increases how much your painting is worth. You might be looking at this painting and be like, oh my god, that must be worth like, I don't know, $1,000 or $2,000. Wrong. Because with the gold content in this painting, it's worth close to $5,000. So if you're ever trying to make your painting be worth more money, just slap gold on that baby and up the charge. It will sell in no time. And that's about it for my video. I hope you guys found these tips to be insanely helpful, as they have helped me in the past. And if you decide to use any of these tips in your artwork, please, please, please let me know down below. I would be very interested in hearing what you make with all these tips and techniques that you have learned. Also, I made this video because honestly, I don't think a lot of people know when I'm joking and when I'm not joking. So this is kind of just a social experiment. If you get this far, like seriously, don't listen to anything I've said, okay? Because this was all just horrible advice that was not serious whatsoever. I know most people don't watch the video all the way through. At the same time, if you're the kind of person who does, I just want to warn you, don't spit in a jar. Like, don't use lemons as your varnish. Like, don't listen to me. Alright, I'll talk to you guys in another video. I'm just really curious to see what the outcome of this video is gonna be. So, yeah, I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye! Love you!